Welcome back to McKiLL TV, and today we look back on another classic title. If you're familiar with this channel, you know that we love to cover classic games across all platforms and genres. And in our last video, we took a look back at Playdead Studios' 2010 game Limbo. So today, we look back on another Playdead Studio game as we look at Inside. I recently got a chance to go back and play Inside, as I haven't played this game since 2018 or so. But I have to say, this game has a lot of intriguing elements added to it when comparing it to Limbo. And just a heads up to those who haven't played or gotten a chance to play this game, I will let you know that this video will contain spoilers, as we discuss many story elements as well as gameplay and more. Inside is a puzzle platformer adventure game developed by Playdead Studios back in 2016, and the game released on PS4, Xbox One, PC, as well as iOS later in December of 2017, and then finally on Nintendo Switch in June of 2018. In this game, you take control of the main character, a boy, who ventures through a bleak, dystopic world solving environmental puzzles as he attempts to avoid death and captivity. Inside is the successor to Playdead's Limbo from 2010 and plays similar to that title, as Inside also uses the side-scroller 2D style of gameplay. Playdead Studio began work on Inside shortly after the release of Limbo. Using Limbo's custom game engine, the team switched to Unity to simplify development, adding their own rendering routines, later released as an open source, to create a signature look. The game was partially funded by a grant from the Danish Film Institute, and Inside premiered at Microsoft's E3 2014 conference, with a planned release date in 2015, but was delayed until 2016. As I mentioned previously, Inside is a puzzle platformer adventure game. The player, the character, is an unnamed boy who explores a surreal and mostly monochromatic environment presented in a 2D, 3D style platform. The game is dark, with color used sparingly to highlight both the player and certain parts of the environment. The game is also mostly silent, with the exceptions of occasional music cues, the boy's vocals, dogs barking, equipment, and sound effects. The player controls the boy, who walks, runs, swims, climbs, and uses objects to overcome obstacles in order to progress the game. As the game progresses, the boy will gain the ability to control bodies to complete certain puzzles, a mechanic that IGN's Marty Silva compared to a similar mechanic from Swapper. At various points in the game, the player may discover hidden rooms containing glowing orbs. If all the orbs are deactivated during the playthrough, the player unlocks the game's alternate ending. Similar to Limbo, the game's story is up to interpretation, as the game itself delivers no dialogue as to what exactly is going on within its story, and is mostly conveyed to the player through the gameplay itself. Throughout the game, the boy can die in various ways, such as being shot with a tranquilizer dart, mauled by dogs, incinerated by security machines, blown apart by shockwaves, or drowned. As in the predecessor game Limbo, these deaths are presented in a realistic manner and are often graphic, but to a larger degree, earning the ESRB's mature rating, as opposed to Limbo's teen rating. If the character dies, the game continues from the most recent checkpoint. As the game begins, the boy slides down a rocky incline. While running through a forest, he encounters masked guards with flashlights, as well as vehicles with mounted spotlights, and fierce guard dogs. He escapes the guard, then crosses a road, where a block has been set up with more vehicles and guards, to a farm where parasitic worms cause pigs to run rampant. There, the boy will use the farm animals and equipment to escape to a seemingly abandoned city, where lines of zombie-like people are moved through a mind control. Beyond the city is a large factory of flooded rooms, a shockwave atrium, and a laboratory environment where scientists perform underwater experiments on bodies. While traversing these areas, the boy uses a mind control helmet to control lifeless gray bodies who seem to be made to work for the organization, controlling the vans and dogs. The boy eventually comes across an underwater siren-like creature that attaches a device to him, allowing him to breathe underwater. The boy continues on through the office and laboratories, and as he does so, the boy sees scientists observing a large spherical chamber. The boy enters the chamber and discovers a large blob-like creature, the Huddle, made of humanoid limbs connected to 4 control rods. After disconnecting the rods, the boy is pulled into the Huddle. After the boy is pulled into it, the Huddle escapes confinement, crashing through the offices, killing some of the scientists in its path. The scientists trap the Huddle in another tank, but the Huddle escapes again and breaks through a wooden wall. It rolls down a forest hill and comes to a stop at a grassy coastline, bathed in light. This is where the game comes to an end. Although the game ends at this point, this is where many have come up with theories surrounding this game's main story. Many journalists and players have offered several different theories about the game's main ending, the freeing of the Huddle, as well as the alternate ending. One theory speculates that the boy is controlled by the Huddle throughout most of the game, leading him to help free the Huddle from its containment. The game impresses that the Huddle has a magnetic-like draw that leads the boy to endanger himself and unquestionably enter the tank where the Huddle is kept so it can free it. Many players speculated on the theory that taking the alternate ending is the working contrary to the Huddle's goal, and the act of unplugging computers to release the Huddle's control on the boy. Although there are some who believe that in the world of Inside, humanity has been almost destroyed because of some ultimate biological catastrophe, and that some scientists are making experiments with the Huddle, so that it can control minds very far away to free itself. This had been thought because there are large quantities of buildings underwater. When the Huddle escapes, there is a 3D work of paper and wood that represents the coast of which the Huddle arrives after escaping the tank. Another theory has the boy being controlled by one or more of the scientists, evidenced by how some of the scientists appear to aid the Huddle in escaping the facility. In this theory, the scientists put the boy through many dangers to gain strength and intelligence, so that these qualities can be absorbed by the Huddle when the boy frees it, improving the creature in an undesirable manner for these scientists. A more meta-fictional interpretation of the game stems from its alternate ending, is based on the notion of player agency. Some have interpreted this theory as the boy being controlled by a renegade force represented by the player. The act of pulling the plug in the final area is similar to the concept of the Matrix, as the location of the alternate ending is only known to the player with the knowledge of the main ending, and not to the Huddle or the scientists. With knowledge of the game's true ending, achieving the alternate ending is a reach to a conclusion to the game that puts an end to the boy and the blob and the inhumane experience being conducted. Although these are all only theories that stem from the ideas of what is conveyed throughout the game itself, and most of these theories I've come across while researching this game. I myself believe the boy was being controlled by the scientists to some degree, which is why I think the boy was being hunted at the beginning of the game, and maybe at some point the boy escaped, and the organization was hunting him down because they knew that he had experienced the inhumane experiments going on within the facilities. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the boy ventured back to free the Huddle, in order to put a stop to their plans. But this is just my theory, and this may not be exactly what's going on. But to be fair, I could also see the theory of the Huddle controlling the boy being true as well. But I think it's all ultimately up to interpretation. If you have played Inside, and you have a theory of what is going on in this game's story, then be sure to comment down below and let me know, as I am intrigued as to what others have come up with. Anyways, Inside was released to critical acclaim. Critics noted that it was an upgrade and an improvement over Limbo, praising its art direction, atmosphere, and gameplay. The game was nominated for numerous accolades, including Game of the Year, and won several independent technical achievements. And much like Limbo, Inside is considered to be a classic, and one of the greatest video games of all time. Ultimately, I wanted to cover both Inside and Limbo, as I consider both games to be very interesting titles, with a great art direction and platformer gameplay. But the game's open-ended story and theory surrounding both games is what I find most intriguing about them. As I find the many theories surrounding this game's story makes it even more interesting to play and experience. And if you haven't played these games and aren't familiar with them, I strongly encourage you to do so, as both games are very cheap across many platforms. Anyways, if you like this video, hit that like button down below and be sure to help my channel. Also, be sure to leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on this game overall, as I am interested in hearing more theories about this game. And if you're interested in more classic games and deep dives, be sure to check out my channel and subscribe for more just like this, as I cover many classic games across all genres and platforms, as well as take recommendations for future games to check out and cover. But until next time, this has been McKiLL TV's Inside Retrospective, and I'll catch you in a future video.